Okay, so let's take a look at hole number 2 in detail here on La Purisima. So the thing is, this hole is the scorecard here for a second. Number 2, the black tees 432, blue 403, white 365. Now, this is a dogleg left. Looking at the satellite image from above, dogleg left. The tee box is over here in the bottom right hand corner. The fairway slopes slightly to the left as it goes up towards the X, and it's a straight shoot. And from there you have a dogleg left, which goes over to the green. And the green is, as you can see here, fronted on the left side by about 100 yards worth of water. It's surrounded on the back and the left side by water. But on the right you have a fairway which curves up and back down to the left, up to the left and back down to the left to the green, and that is a safe route to play around the water. Or you can try to hit over the lake, but then you have a relatively small, almost circular green, of which easily 3/4 of it is surrounded by water. So the question is, where do you really want to be, and how are you going to play this hole? So now, if we look at the hole itself from the tee box, we see essentially that the hole is a straight shoot from the tee box down to the right side of the horizontal part of the fairway, the crossing part. You can see in this shot that the cart path is on the right side here. It curves back to the left as it comes across the center of the shot. Now I'm looking at it here from the white tees, the short tees, and that distance again is 365. And then it picks up about 40 yards and then another 30 yards to go to the black. So let's look at the blue tees, which are the back of the white tee box, and then the black tees, which are at another tier up above the white and blue tees. And it's supposed to be back about 70 yards from the white tees. So the thing is here, if you're looking from the tee shot, you can see that there is a very clear chute here in the middle, but that chute only gives you the very right side of the right hand side of the part that goes left towards the green. So the tricky part is that if we go back in here and look at the hole again from the top satellite view, you can see that there is a finger of the lake that comes out here to the left, and there is a brown patch over here just short of that, which is in front of between the tee box and the lake. And there are some trees over there to the right. So if we go and look at the landing area itself, came back from approximately the center of the horizontal part of the fairway, we can see the trees are on the back right corner of the horizontal fairway. We can see the trees that are just to the short side of the lake. You can barely see any of the lake here, but there's some reeds and stuff you can see in between those two trees. So the cart path goes over there under that tall tree there in the back. If we look at for the green from that point, we see the fence here is for the cart boundary, and there's a little part here in the middle where the cart runs off. This course doesn't really have finished cart paths, but you can see two trees there. The flag is this little yellow thing tucked under the left side of the right hand tree back there. And the shack on the left is the left hand side of the water on the left side of the green. And all this slopey stuff on the left is the bottom of the hill that runs on the left side of the fairway off the tee box. So you really want to be over here somewhere on the towards the green on the side of this little rope thing here. You definitely want to get over the far side of the slopey part into this flat part here. But the trick part is that if you go to the flat part here, now you're going to hit a shot off of short grass to an island green, which is extremely tricky thing to do. It's a very challenging shot to hit off short grass and hit a high iron off of short grass. Especially tricky to hit a long iron off of short grass, but it's certainly still tricky to hit a short iron off of short grass. It's hard to get that ball up in the air, hard to get the blade under the ball. And so what we want to do here is make this shot as short as possible. We don't want to have to hit a 150 or 200 yard shot from the back side away from the green. So let's look again take a slightly different view. Let's move over to the right side of the crossing horizontal part. And then you can see that we have here, we're a little bit farther, closer to the green and on the right side, and you can see this part where it curves back to the left, back towards the green. And this is the fairway part that ideally you want to be in, because it takes much of the water out of play. It gives you a fairway to play over, and that is kind of where you want to be. And let's see how we're going to get there from the tee box. So the next shot is the shot from the cart path, looking at the landing area in front of the sand trap that guards the green. If you take that safe route, you have to play over that sand trap to get to the green, and that adds even more peril, because now you can't really hit a short bump and run and bounce it up onto the green safely. You have to, this green you pretty much have to go at with some air on your shot. If you go over the water, you definitely have to go out with air, because if you hit it flat, it'll bounce off the screen and run into the back, into the lake. If you go low with some kind of pitch off this little approach area here, there's a good chance you can land in the sand and get caught in that front lip if you don't carry it right. If you go to the green, there's a good chance it'll run off the back of the green behind the flag. So a very challenging shot. So let's look again at our shots that we have available. We have for a right-handed player, we have a cut shot coming in high from the left side and going to the right. Draw shot coming in from the right side and going into the left, and a center shot, which is just straight ahead. Now, I will say one thing about the difference that you have to keep in mind between cuts and draws. Draws are almost going to be the longer shot, because usually you hit draws lower. Hitting a high draw is almost impossible to actually get any action on the ball. But cut shots, you tend to hit higher, and they tend to cut more than draws will draw. So you get more action on it, they will bend more, and they tend to come in much shorter than a draw shot that runs out to the right. But you can put spin on it and basically run it out farther that way with more control, as opposed to trying to hit a straight shot and hitting it dead straight. It's again, the thing that you really want to keep in mind is that playing golf shots, you have one straight shot, you have a solid range of cut shots, and you have a small range of draw shots. So this is the issue we're going to take into advantage here. So let's look at some potential shots off of the tee. This first shot I've put in is a draw shot off the tee, coming down the center of the fairway and bending to the left over the low part on the corner of the hill to the left of the fairway. You get to where that house is. It's on that road. If you look to the cart road there, along that runs left, the house is, the little shack is on that little dirt patch there that runs right next to the lake. So the X there is about 150 yards. And if you go up to the dark green part that borders the water, that is tall grass. It's short enough that you can see over it and play over it, but it's still a factor in vision. And also there's that short grass on the left side of bottom left and right of the green. So there's grass that you have to get over. You have to hit over that lake. You have to hit with a fair amount of air into that green. And you can see the sand trap that guards the approach coming up the fairway. So the trick is with the draw, when you hit it right, it tends to be longer and it tends to break less. So I flattened out the shot a little bit here. And if you hit it right, it'll run all the way up that approach fairway towards the cart path at the top of the screen. If you hit it a little bit short, it will come over about in the center behind the grass. If you really don't get a draw on it at all, it'll go back towards the right side of the X. And if you are too close, or you hit too far, it'll run up under the bushes there straight on top of the X. So the one problem you have to keep in mind here is with the draw, it's very easy to block it out to the right. If you're trying to hit a draw and pull it and hit it left, and sometimes we get too aggressive and try to pull it too much with the club, or we don't hit with the club face close enough and we block the ball out to the right. In that case, it would be up in the trees under the lake here or in the lake itself, unless you hit far enough back from the back tees. And that's the advantage of playing from the back tees, is you get more room to make a mistake and still find your ball without hitting into hazards. that are going to eat your ball. So the other option is to play a cut shot. And then, so we go cutting over the trees to the left of the fairway. That's the upside of the fairway. And then we bring it over the waist here to the left, and we bring it back in front of the lake to drop in right about 100 yards. And that ball will come in and run back away from the water, but it'll run again to the top of the screen, again giving you the approach shot along the grass to the top of the screen. Now, of course, this can go wrong if you hit too far to the left and bring back into the water. Maybe it won't make it back out of the waist, or you can hit it too straight and have it bring all the way back over here to the lake. Especially if there's wind coming down the crossing fairway, it's easy to blow that ball back over into the lake. So it all depends on how high you hit it and how far left you hit it. It's a matter of picking what you want here. You can't really see what's going on from the tee box. You can't see what's behind the hill. You kind of have to know what's going on and kind of guess that you're going to take about a 30-degree cut off the vertical and bring it back, and it should come back in pretty well on the right. If you don't hit it far enough left, it will get stuck out there on the lake side about 200 yards away from the lake, if it doesn't go in the lake at all, or that little marshy part just to the left of the lake. So the other option you have, obviously, is to hit a center shot and try to play it right down the center of that first fairway, the tee shot, and land it somewhere around 175 in that little loop there in the cart path. So if you get that, then you get a decent looking approach. You'll be out in the fairway, and then you have to look at what you're going to do for your approach shot. So now your approach shot becomes the problem, and the approach shot looks something like this, depending on how far up or back you are towards the pin. And so we'll take a look now at hitting cuts and fades into the approach. Again, the circles here, I've got a circle in the center for a straight approach, and I've drawn it a little bit right to give us some room away from the lake on the left. Or you can play a cut back over the lake and bring it back onto the green, or you can play a draw from the right side and bring it back to the left, again staying over this dry part here, the grassy part. Now, obviously there are perils if you hit it too far left or too far right, or you hit it too long, or you don't cut it enough, or anything like that. But again, the important thing to remember is that you need to have a target for what your shot is going to look like. You can't just walk out there and just say, oh, I'm going to cut the shot, or I'm going to draw it, I'm going to pull it left or right. You need to have an idea of where that ball is going to cut when you hit it. You need to have an idea of where you want to hit it to cut, and you need an idea for distance. And that's why I've drawn these in here, to give you an idea of what, on a real course in real conditions, this is the kind of shot you want to be looking at. So that makes this hole, I think, a pretty good challenge of golf, even though it looks simple. It's a basic par 4, dogleg left, but it has a lot of features to it that make it a very intriguing shot. Certainly give you options. You can play straight left, cuts or draws on both shots. There are pluses and minuses to all these options, and it's very easy to blow this approach shot and blade it and hit the green and have it bounce off the back and go into the lake. But what you don't have here is this tree in the center, which has no real foliage on it. And what you don't have there is that tree up over here on the right side in front of the sand trap, guarding the green. You don't have an elevated green to worry about. So it's not as hard as it could be by easily two factors, where you have a elevated green with sloping sides. It could easily bounce and go off the back. It still can do that. There's about 5 feet of slope down into the water, but you don't have to pitch up to the green. You don't have the tree guarding the green. It's fairly open. It's a moderately good challenge. I think this is a very good, interesting, challenging hole for a intermediate golfer, and one of the reasons I like this course.